Greetings, students. We're now into week 5, and a week from now you're going to be busy submitting your outlines for a grade and also giving your speeches for a grade. As I've talked to students over the years, I found that at least 75% of them have problems with this course simply because they're afraid to stand up in front of a crowd and speak. When I used to talk with my residential students about this, I would say, you can always talk to friends. And when you talk on your speeches, you talk to friends. In your case, you're only dealing with 3 or more people, and usually you know those people fairly well. It's always easy to talk to them. When you get to a larger group of people, then you want to pick out your friends in the crowd and talk to them. Don't go looking up at the ceiling. Don't go shifting your eyes, wondering where you can put them to avoid anybody seeing you. Don't go looking down at your paper. Look up at the people that you know and talk with them. Occasionally find somebody else. There are a lot of times when you're giving a speech that you will find somebody in the room. You may not know them, but they are really into your speech. And when they're into your speech, they will nod, they will smile, and you can spend some time looking at them as well as your friends and others in the crowd. As you get more comfortable with this, you will find it a whole lot easier to do. Now, I know you can do this because when I gave my final speech as a freshman student, at the end of the speech, my teacher looked at me and said, "Robert, if you'd spoken loud enough for anybody to hear you, it probably would have been a great speech." Now then, thanks to the Lord, I overcame that. And now then I speak to students all the time. But it took the Lord's help, and it took my preparation and the decision to do this. Now then, let me tell you one other thing. When you get ready to give your speech, go on and use the outline that you had to submit for a grade. Now then, why do I say this instead of note cards? I've seen so many times when a student has a bunch of note cards and they're trying to flip through them and they drop them and they lose their place, or they get to talking and they lose the place where they are and they have to go back through. Take that outline, blow it up to something like 20-point type, and then take a highlighter and mark your key points. When you do this, you will be able to know exactly where you are and what comes next. Next thing to do is to take that outline that you've written, and when I talk about the outline, I know in the speech, I know that it's 4 to 6 minutes, but I want you to shoot for 5 minutes. I also know that when we get to talking in front of people, sometimes we speak faster, sometimes we slow down, sometimes we leave stuff out, sometimes we add things that we think about in the middle of the speech. So if you shoot for 5 minutes, you'll stay within that 4 to 6 minute mark. Now then, once you do that, stand in front of a mirror and go over your speech. The first time you may have to read it aloud, and watch what you're doing in the mirror. And when you finish the speech, check your stopwatch and see how much time you've used for that speech. What I've seen so far would indicate that probably a lot of you are going to have to cut material out. Okay, cut it out, stand up in front of the mirror, give your speech again. Since this is the second or third time you've gone through this material, maybe not speaking it aloud, but gone through it, you're not going to spend nearly as much time looking at your notes, and you're going to be able to do well in speaking to the mirror and looking at yourself. Sometimes this may be the first time you've actually looked at yourself. A lot of us don't like to look in mirrors very much, certainly no longer than we have to. But if you look at yourself in the mirror, you'll see what the people that are going to watch your speech are going to see. Once you get it down to 5 minutes, then I want you to go through it 3 or more times in addition to that, so that you are totally familiar with what you're dealing with. That way, You don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to be doing that. Now then, I know that you're going to be successful in this because, as I told you earlier, I was able to overcome my fears, and I expect you to do it too. I'm looking forward to your speeches starting next week, and I just wish you the best. Thank you.